Hello, and welcome to the show. You may know me as the Viking Shaman, or as your presenter, Shadow Walker. This is the history of magic, origins and community, and integration. I am your host. And well, hello everyone, and welcome to today's seminar on the fascinating topic of magic and the occult. We will explore its rich history, its origins, and how it played a critical role in the development of early religious practices within communities around the world. We will examine the ritualistic and herbal application of magic, psychotropic trances, and role of shamans in early societies. Before delving into its history, let's define magic and the occult. Magic can be seen as the practice of using rituals, symbols, actions, or language to manipulate supernatural forces. The occult refers to hidden knowledge concerning the mysterious ways of existence, often encompassing aspects of spirituality, astrology, and alchemy. Together, these practices formed the bedrock of human understanding toward the natural and unseen worlds, which were central to early civilizations. The roots of magic can be traced back to prehistoric times. Archaeological evidence suggests that primitive societies engaged in shamanistic practices as far back as 40,000 years ago. Evidence can be found in ancient cave paintings depicting figures engaged in ritualistic dances, which likely served to invoke the spirits of animals or ancestors. In these early communities, shamans emerged as the primary figures responsible for connecting the physical and spiritual realms. They utilized herbal knowledge to create potions and remedies, and entered psychotropic trances to communicate with the spirit world. These trance states were often induced through the consumption of psychoactive substances, such as psilocybin mushrooms, magic mushrooms or peyote, magic cactus, psychedelic cactuses, allowing shamans to access altered states of consciousness. But what exactly were they doing in these trances? Shamans would enter psychotropic trances to heal members of their community, predict future events, or even negotiate with spirits for the benefit of their people. The communal nature of these rituals reinforced social bonds and helped establish a sense of belonging. Among participants, such as communal practices, illustrated that magic, at its core, was not merely an individual pursuit, but a collective experience, tightly interwoven with the fabric of communal identity and spirituality. Rituals are essential components of magic, serving both individual and communal purposes. The rituals of early agrarian societies, such as fertility rites, aimed to ensure bountiful harvests and fertility among livestock and their people. For example, the ancient Egyptians conducted rituals to appease deities, believing that their agricultural success depended on the favor of the gods. In many cultures, these rituals were firmly integrated into daily life. For instance, the Mayan civilization, rituals involving maize or corn were performed to honor agricultural deities, showcasing the intertwining relationship between magic and sustenance within the communities. Herbal knowledge was indispensable to early magical practices. Various herbs were believed to possess unique properties associated with healing, divination, and protection. For instance, plants like sage and mugwort were used in purification rituals, while others like mandrake were associated with love, spells, and curses. This extensive herbalism points to a sophisticated understanding of the natural world among early practitioners, further emphasizing magic's role in early medicine and spirituality. Now, let's take a step back to look at how different cultures integrated magic and the occult. Let's take Egypt. Their pantheon of gods was deeply interwoven with magical practices. The Book of the Dead provided spells to navigate the afterlife, and in so the indigenous North Americans, well, here shamanism remained a dominant practice, with rituals centered around nature and ancestors, emphasizing harmony with the environment. Within Mesopotamia, this civilization developed elaborate rituals involving astrology and divination, believing that the movements of celestial bodies influenced earthly affairs. These examples illustrate a universal theme. Magic served as a bridge between human existence and the divine, as early societies grappled with mystery and uncertainty. As civilizations advanced, so did the practice of magic. With the rise of written language, magical texts became a prominent feature. These included spells, rituals, and herbal remedies, codified into systems that allowed for broader dissemination of knowledge. The establishment of ceremonial magic during the Hellenistic period saw the fusion of Greek philosophical thought with ancient Egyptian practices. giving rise to Mysticism and other philosophical systems that explored the relationship between the material and the spiritual world. And in so, gathering with that information, magic has then been an integral part of early religious development and community cohesions. The cohesion of the community and religious practices developed into segregated places within the villages and communities of the respective cultures. It provided answers to existential questions, promoted healing, and fostered social cooperation. As societies progressed, magic evolved from enigmatic practices into formalized systems of knowledge that influenced philosophical and religious thought across cultures. By understanding the role of magic and the occult in these early communities, we not only uncover the beliefs and practices of our ancestors, but also reflect on the enduring human desire to connect as forces beyond our understanding. And so now we will look at magic and throughout the history. How has it evolved? How has it influenced us? Well, how magic has evolved throughout history, emphasizing the differences in perspectives from various cultures around the world, and examining how these perceptions coalesced into the rich hints and tumultuous beliefs of medieval Europe. Magic, in its earliest forms, can be traced back to ancient cultures, where it was woven into the fabric of daily life. From the shamanistic rituals of indigenous tribes to the grandiose ceremonies of ancient Egypt, we see a rich tapestry of beliefs. In these cultures, magic was not merely an amusement. It was a powerful tool used for healing, divination, and connecting the human and the divine. The Egyptians, for instance, used magic to influence the gods, believing that incantation or ritual could sway the natural order and sway the terms or sway the natural order their way, trying to harness the power of the universe. While the expressions of magic differ vastly, be it through the oracle practices of ancient Greece, the voodoo traditions of West Africa, or the mystical alchemy of the Chinese. There are riveting commonalities. These practices often revolve around a shared belief in unseen forces that can be influenced through rituals, symbols, and sacred texts, we find that despite geographic and cultural divides, humanity's innate desire to comprehend and manipulate the world around them binds us into a coherent and natural race of animals known as human beings. As we try to understand magic and the unknown and how it works for us in this universe. As we transition into the medieval period, we witness a shift in societal attitudes towards magic. The rise of Christianity brought about a significant change in the perception of magic. What was once revered began to be viewed with suspicion and fear. In this new worldview, many forms of magic were equated with heresy, leading to a societal crackdown on practitioners deemed dangerous. This culminated in the infamous witch hunts of the late medieval and early modern periods. The witch hunts of the late 15th century and onwards epitomized the devastating consequences of these fears, because people fear the unknown, and the unknown was fear in us. Allegations of witchcraft were often rooted in socio-economic issues, gender dynamics, and religious fervor. Those labeled as witches, predominantly women, were scapegoated for agricultural failures, epidemics, and social unrest. This blend of old and new showcases humanity's relentless pursuit to redefine and reclaim the spiritual aspects of magic, reflecting our ongoing quest for connection, understanding, and meaning in our lives. It unites us across cultures, geography, and history, reminding us that our desire for the mysterious and supernatural has always been an essential part of what it means to be human. Now, so far, have I grabbed any of your attention in any of this? I welcome any questions or thoughts you may have so far. Leave them down in the comments, and I will get to you in the reply of a comment back, and the best I can do to help you. Others may do the same. Sharing is knowledge, and knowledge is sharing. Now, understanding shamanism, magic users, and Seder, magic, and the occult. Now, here we will aim to define the unique characteristics of shamans, witches, and Seda practitioners. Discuss the historical use of rune stones. Investigate the nature and practice of Seda, including its gender dynamics and techniques for mastery. Now, let's begin our journey into the mystical world of shamanism, witchcraft, and Norse magic. Here, we'll be going into things a little bit deeper in hopes that you'll then understand where magic and the occult, witchcraft and shamanism began, and where it led to, and where it would be leading to next. Understanding shamanism. Shamanism is one of the oldest spiritual practices in human history, characterized by its pivotal role in healing and community leadership. Shamans act as intermediaries between the physical and spiritual worlds, often utilizing trance states to connect with spirits or ancestors on behalf of their communities. Now, trance states, these are what shamans enter in altered states of consciousness to perform healings or guidance. There can be techniques that can include drumming, dancing, or the use of psychoactive substances. Community focus, where shamans are often community leaders, addressing the spiritual health of the group. Their work can align closely with the well-being of the environment and the community. There's eclectic practices. Now, many shamans may incorporate various traditions, animal spirits, and local myths into their practice. But then, there's the magic user, known as witches, in witchcraft. The term witch has garnered many definitions across cultures, often representing magic users who employ rituals, spells, and potions, and their potions of magical elixirs for various purposes, including healing, protection, and sometimes hexing, cursing, jinxes. Now, they can be solitary or a group of witches. They are groups practicing witchcraft, usually in covens. And then there, so you may need to be inducted into a coven from invitation of one of the group members. But generally, these days, witches practicing witchcraft are generally solitary. Witches may work alone within the covens, as previously stated. Traditional practices often differ significantly depending on regional cultures. Tools and rituals. Witches often use tools like crystals, herbs, and candles. Invoking deities of natural elements. Their rituals can be highly personal and tailored to individual belief systems. Intent and focus. The intent behind the magic is crucial. There's ethical considerations commonly guiding their practices, and a little bit of this, a little bit of that, from here and there. They take what feels right to them and leave behind everything else. And they create their own system of magic and beliefs. Now, there's Seder, the Norse tradition of shamanism. Seder, in ancient Norse practice, tied closely to magic, is often described as a form of sorcery, focusing on fate, prophecy, and the manipulation of reality. In Norse mythology, Seder was frequently associated with the deity Freya, who was known for her profound knowledge and ability to influence destiny. Sierberg was divination. While Seder does include divination, it extends into the influencing of the future and altering fate. It's known as the Beard, and it can take a toll if you are to change man's fate and destiny. Seder men, male practitioners, and said Kona, female practitioners, would both undergo rigorous training to perfect their craft. Mastery of Seder. What is involved? Mastery often requires years of learning from a seasoned practitioner, including understanding complex symbols and runes. Ritualistic elements. Seder involved rituals that often included chants, scrying, and the use of physical objects, such as runes, for interpretation. And the rune stones, reality versus media's perception. It's essential to adjust the common portrayal of rune stones in media. While TV and movies often glamorize their use as magical tools, the historical reality reveals a more nuanced role. Cultural context. Runes were predominantly used for communication, record-keeping, and magical inscriptions. Their magical use was regional and specific, rather than universally practiced. But Sedgonas and Sederman were an integral part of the culture. They were there to move the Rebbe Beard in a direction that was favorable. That would curse, that would prophetize, that would foresee, and that would use divination. They also see as an example in history. Runes could have been used in Seder to enhance the power of spells, but they are not the primary focus of every practitioner. Some practitioners favored them. Some practitioners used other means, so runes, solely for the use of their practice. Modern misconceptions. The dramatic portrayal of runes as omnipotent magic tools overlooks their historical significance in understanding language and cultures. Gender roles in Seder practices. An interesting aspect of Seder is the gender roles associated with its practice. While traditionally viewed as a feminine practice, historical accounts suggest that men could also be proficient in Seder, indicating a complex societal structure. Seidkona versus Seidaman. The term Seidkona indicates women who practiced Seder, often perceived as having special powers. Seidamen, on the other hand, faced more societal stigma, but could attain elevated statuses within their communities. Historical perspectives. The relationship between gender and Seder is steeped in mythology, providing insights into how cultural interpretations of masculinity and femininity influenced practice. To master Seder, practitioners generally follow a rigorous path that involves mentorship, learning from experienced Seidkonas or Seidamen, often through oral tradition and personal experience. Ritual practice. Engaging in regular rituals and meditative practices to deepen connection with the spiritual realm. Study of runes and lore. A strong foundation in Norse mythology and the symbolic meanings of the runes is essential. Community engagement. Participation in communal rites or gatherings to enhance understanding and practice. Shamanism, witchcraft, and Seder each represent unique, culturally rich practices with distinct methodologies and goals. Runestones, while intriguing, were not the central focus of all magical practice. The understanding of the mastery of Seder involved overcoming cultural stigmas and recognizing interconnectedness of gender roles within these magical traditions. Magic, in many forms, has existed in human culture for millennia. Its evolution can be traced back to the Middle Ages, when it was predominantly viewed through a lens of superstition and religious dogma. The Church heavily influenced Western attitudes, often condemning practices that fell outside its doctrine as heretical, which created a harsh dichotomy. Women who practiced herbalism or healing were often labeled as witches. This period sowed the seeds of fear and misunderstanding that still color societal perceptions of magic today. Now let's discuss shamans and healers. So these practitioners often share a common goal of healing or divination. The methods differ across cultures. Shamans, for example, frequently engage in trance states to commune with spirits, for guidance. Relying on centuries-old traditions, healers, on the other hand, may utilize herbs and natural remedies drawn from extensive knowledge of the environment. These distinctions highlight the rich tapestry of magical practices worldwide. While shamans may invoke spirits for insights, healers may focus on physical wellness and emotional support. However, as we delve deeper, we must confront the significant misunderstandings that surround magic. Those who are offended by the notion of magic often come from personal or religious backgrounds that reject practices considered outside of traditional belief systems. This leads to a culture where magic is relegated to the realms of the sinister, and practitioners are often outcasted. It's crucial to recognize that the essence of magic, whether viewed through historical or modern lenses, is largely about intention, human desire to connect, understand, and heal. The rituals used in magic have also evolved through the ages. Historical practices varied from elaborate ceremonies to simple household charms. For instance, in the Middle Ages, rituals often invoked celestial bodies and drew from ancient texts and grimoires. In modern times, rituals have become more eclectic. Many contemporary practitioners blend traditions, creating personalized practices that may include elements from Wicca, chaos magic, or even mindfulness techniques. However, the emphasis has shifted from strict adherence to dogma toward personal empowerment and the transformation. Despite the evolution of these practices, many still find themselves labeled as outcasts, demonized for what they believe or practice. Societal standards often create boundaries around acceptable forms of spirituality and healing, leading to the stigmatization of those who embrace magic. Yet, it is vital to ask, is magic inherently bad? The answer lies with the practitioners themselves. Magic can be a vehicle for empowerment, creativity, and connection. It often reflects the wider societal anxieties around the unknown and the spiritual. The relationship between magic and entertainment is another layer to consider. The figure of the magician, as seen in entertainment today, often differs significantly from historical practitioners. Stage magicians focus on illusion, providing entertainment, rather than a conduit to the divine. Nonetheless, one can argue that both forms are tied to the act of wonder. While one seeks to entertain, the other aims to heal or connect with the sacred. The line is perhaps more blurred than one might think. In contemporary times, modern witchcraft has emerged as a response to traditional practices, filled with eclectic elements that draw from various spiritual heritages. This renaissance has fostered a space where practitioners feel empowered to explore their identity. Modern witches prioritize inclusivity, and many affirm that their practices are not tied to any singular dogma, but are instead forged through personal experience and community. This reinvention allows for the reclaiming of terms like witch, transforming historical stigma into a badge of empowerment. And so now, as we conclude, it's essential to recognize that magic is a multifaceted and evolving practice that transcends time and culture. The evolution of magical practices reflects the broader societal changes and the need for acceptance in diverse forms of spirituality. Rather than viewing magic through a lens of fear, we can choose to see it as an expression of human experience, a means to navigate the complexities of life and spirituality. And this is why I've chosen to do this video without my hat, to show the mask is just a mask, but it hides the identity. And while I film, I choose to hide my identity because throughout the show, I have been in a magical rift where while I film, there's magic going on. And to those demons, spirits, entities, beings that shall want to cause harm or bad, they cannot see me or know who I really am to make those things happen to me. So I choose to hide from those that want to cause harm and mischief and bad. So sort of like veiling, but it's actually cloaking in a way. And so this is just a way to show you that you can do something that's more, but may not be noticeable at the time. And so I will now end this video. If you're watching me on YouTube, please like, share, and comment. And if you're listening to this on the Viking Shaman show, I am Shadow Walker, and this is the Viking Shaman. I will see you next time. Bye.